Hey, good morning to everybody watching this live on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, or maybe you're listening to this on the Success is a Choice podcast network. You, of course, are listening to the Talent and Strategy Show here, made possible by our friends at Affinity Recruiting and Consulting. Check out all their services at affinitytoday.com. And as usual, we have our co-host, Ruston Pierce, joining us, president of Affinity Consulting. How you doing, Ruston?
Great. Good to be here this morning.
Awesome. And our very special guest today is Rob Quam. He is the executive director of the Lake Wales Care Center. Rob, welcome to the Talent and Strategy Show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, Rob, if you would kind of introduce yourself to everybody, let us know who you are, kind of what you do. Give us a super secret that you have in your life that no one knows about. Tell us something that even your family doesn't know.
Well, there are a lot of things they don't know, and there's a lot of things the community doesn't know, and this is a bad thing to start with, but I am, in our community, one of the guys that people come to talk to about private things. So I've told my children, when I start getting dementia, lock me away, because there's a lot of things up here that people don't need to know about. So we're going to leave that alone for now. Care Center is a faith-based ministry, social ministry. We have in our community, it's a small town, but there's probably 40 or 50 churches that we represent and work on their behalf, organizing, coordinating ministries such as housing for the homeless, Meals on Wheels, home rehab. We help families in short-term financial crisis. We have language classes for non-English speaking adults, job training, job search, just a variety of other types of programs. We also have a series of enterprise activities, thrift stores, an antique store, a retail Christian bookstore, online used book sales. So we do a lot of different things and do it to try to impact the community with services, as well as provide a way for the churches and the folks in the churches to have a way to serve and to help their neighbors.
So I've been fortunate to get connected to the Care Center and have just been blown away at the breadth and depth of what the Lake Wales Care Center does. And that was the biggest reason I asked Rob to be on today, because I think it's a bit of an anomaly. Most organizations, when you go in, you're trying to figure out, okay, what things do we need to kind of stop doing here because we're spread too thin, we don't have enough bandwidth. And the Care Center has an unbelievable just laundry list of ministries that it provides to the community in Lake Wales. And so, but I think what's fascinating is the history of the Care Center and how it came about. Rob, could you just kind of briefly unpack what was the history of the Care Center? You're the founding executive director. What were the early years of the Care Center about, and what did it look like?
Okay. In 1985, 37 years ago, there were three different entities that came together to form Care Center. One of those groups and kind of the foundation were the local pastors through the Ministerial Association. So the pastors from most of the mainline churches wanted a centralized ministry that they could all work together to serve the needs. They had no idea what that looked like at the time, but that's what they wanted to do. Second group was a group of Christian business leaders that had some resources and organizational skills, and they wanted to participate and help with those aspects. And then third group was a small Christian college right outside of town. And I actually was a student at that school at the time, Warner University. Back then it was Warner Southern College. And I was a student in my senior year and had begun to get involved in some community volunteer work with some college colleagues. And so there were a couple of our administrators at the school that were involved in that leadership group putting together Care Center. And when I was getting ready to graduate, they asked if I would join and stay on. I was going to go to seminary after I finished my undergrad, and they wanted me to stay for a year and help Care Center get started. So my wife and I committed to a 1-year assignment here in Lake Wales. before moving on. And that was 37 years ago. So apparently I'm a slow learner. I'm still in my 37 years of interning. My wife, by the way, did a one-year assignment, took a one-year assignment at a local school. She's an educator, and she just retired last year after 36 years at that same school, and the last 12 as principal. So we have both enjoyed a great ride in this community, and I was fortunate to start at Care Center. I actually worked under a volunteer executive director for 2 years, and then he moved on, and they asked me to stay on as director. I was very young, but we were a lot smaller then. We started basically as a food pantry and clothing closet, and that's how a lot of faith-based social ministry starts, pretty small. And we've been fortunate to be blessed by this community, be blessed by God through the community, and it's just been a good ride.
Jamy, before you move on to your next question, I want all of our listeners to hear the volume of growth that has been experienced. So Rob just said they started as a food pantry and clothes closet. Rob, how many employees do you have today, and how many buildings does the Care Center have?
We have around 90 employees, probably at any given time, close to a dozen interns, and a couple thousand volunteers. We have about 20 facilities that we operate out of. A lot of those are residential facilities for our transitional housing program, but we also have some enterprise store facilities, office, clinic. We also have a free clinic and a pregnancy program. So we got quite a spread throughout the community.
So I just want our listeners to hear that and understand the caliber and the capacity of leader that we're talking to right now, because in 37 years to go from, we kind of got this food pantry and food closet, to we have 20 buildings and 90 employees and thousands of volunteers, speaks to the level of organizational structure that exists at the Lake Wales Care Center.
Well, piggybacking on that, Ruston, I would imagine, I can't even say I imagine, I have a hard time imagining the impact, how much impact you're having on the community, Rob. When you had that pantry and when you were just starting off, almost bootstrapping it, you were helping a few people, which is obviously a great thing. But now with 90 people, 90 employees, 20 plus buildings, I mean, the impact is just magnified, just amazingly. What kind of impact are you having? What all are you doing with that? How have you expanded so much over the years?
I think a couple things. There's a lot, but I'll address just a couple to get started on that. One is we feel like our ministry is twofold, and they're equal in effort. One is to serve our neighbors that need assistance, that need the help from the various programs we have, and the other is to serve those that want to help, that have resources, whether it's time, expertise, tangible resources, financial resources. And we think that the impact that we've had on the community is just as profound, if not more, to that group, the group that is able to serve, giving them an opportunity to have a place to provide their resources. I use this example a lot. In the parable in the Bible, Jesus gives a parable of the Good Samaritan. And a lot of people in that story will say, okay, Care Center in our community, you're the Good Samaritans. And we don't see ourselves that way. We'd like to think that we do act that way, but we see ourselves more as the inn and the innkeeper. And our Good Samaritans are the folks that have the resources to share. They find people beaten up by life circumstances. They have a place to bring them to the inn, put them in the care of the innkeeper. But in that parable, the Good Samaritan provided resources to the innkeeper and said, I'll be back to see if you need more. And so we believe that that's a big part of our responsibility in town. And I could just give you story after story of the way that we think we've made a difference in the lives of those individuals being able to serve. Just one way of that. We run summer camps where I call it one of the biggest scams in our community. Kids pay us money. Their parents pay us money for them to come work in the hot sun during the summer. They go out and we roof houses, paint houses, build wheelchair ramps, clean up downtown, do a lot of different service, and they're paying us to do this. And through the years, we've developed a lot of young leaders that many of them now are employed with us, or they are serving in the community. I just had a legal proceeding. I had to go testify in court, and our attorney was a young man that grew up coming to our summer camps. And that happens over and over again. Folks that now are professionals and giving back to the community that we were able to impact as young people, and their parents and grandparents just love that we were able to do that. And so that gets them on board. One of the other things to address as far as impact is we, through the years, have tried to learn and focus on being more development oriented than relief oriented. Again, we started out, as many small nonprofits do, with more relief, giving food, giving clothing. And as we've grown and matured, trying to do more of helping people to help themselves. Our transitional housing program is a big example of that, giving them an opportunity to get back on their feet and become productive citizens of the community. Another example of that is our holiday assistance, Christmas assistance, for example. The families that apply for Christmas help, the parents get an opportunity to earn points by doing things that healthy families do: read books to their kids, go to parent-teacher conferences at school, go to church functions, come to budget and finance class, and things like that. Then once they earn their points, they get to sign up and go shopping and pick out the gifts for their kids, and they actually shop for them. We help them wrap them up, then they take them home. Back in the old days, we would just match the gifts and the kids on the list, wrap them up and deliver them ourselves. And we realized we were devaluing those adults in those homes. The kids knew someone else was providing Christmas, and the parents had no skin in the game. And so that's just an example. We're just helping parents to provide Christmas for their kids instead of doing it for them. And so trying to focus more on that philosophy of ministry than just the handouts. Empowerment versus enabling.
So I've been, so just full disclosure, I have done some work with the Lake Wales Care Center. So I've gotten to see all the internal workings. I've gotten to see how the staff interact. I've seen all the ministry opportunities that they present. So I've seen firsthand the incredible work they're doing. And the level of work that they're doing can only happen with fantastic leadership. And so, Rob, I wanted to ask you a question about not really so much the Lake Wales Care Center, but more you personally. What are some leadership principles that you hold as very high priority for you personally? And why would you say those are your priority?
Well, it's interesting you asked that, because I was reflecting this morning in my meditation and quiet time, and I made a comment quietly to God that I have no idea what I'm doing, and have no idea how we got to where we are. I started right out of college, as I mentioned, as a volunteer, and have just enjoyed a great ride. I did after early on, and got a master's degree in social work. So I combined a undergrad in ministry, graduate degree in social work. There you go. Social ministry come together. So, education is important, and we try to invest in education. We host a lot of interns, young adults, and we think that that's important. I obviously started here that way as a post-graduation internship. So we want to give young people an opportunity to cut their teeth. And we know that we are preparing a lot of young people to launch out to other places. And we still want to invest in them to do that. And we actually, over the last several years, have had a couple of benefactors that want to help us to do that, invest in young folks and help them to launch out. We also hope that some of them are going to launch up and stay here a while, and we want to invest in them as well. So investing in young staff, helping them to grow, mature, and whether they're launching out or up, we'll let God determine that. So that's big for us. Trying to find places where people that come in, whether they're staff or volunteers, can be serve in an area where they feel gifted and they are fulfilled. We want people to be fulfilled at the end of the day. We did a satisfaction. We had one of our interns did a class project and did a inventory of our staff a couple years ago. And one of the results that came out is people felt stressed by their workload, but they felt very fulfilled in what they were doing. And so somehow we've been able to keep people that are stressed on board because we try to keep them fulfilled. And so that's big. I think character is big for us. None of us are perfect. I'm certainly far from it. But trying to help people that are here serving to maintain a good character, good role model for those that we're serving. That's important to us as well. I know there's lots of other things.
Can I add a direct quote from one of your employees to what you just said? I was with many of Rob's employees for several days. And I was in a room with probably 10 of them. And somebody just completely on their own said, this was all for everybody in this room. This was our second choice, but now it's our first choice. And everybody in the room echoed that. And it was really cool to watch everybody in the room verbalize what you just said, that, it was, we all came here thinking this was like a stepping stone or a Band-Aid, and now it's our priority. It was pretty amazing to watch that get unpacked.
So
backup plan, that's what we call it. So this care center was everybody's backup plan, and which is amazing what God is, the team he's allowed us to pull together through the years, knowing that this was not, most everyone that's here, it was not their first choice.
Well, as you've grown, Rob, through the years, and I guess how have you changed a little bit in determining maybe what needs that you're fulfilling or meeting, or how you're helping? Because there's so many ways to help in your community. And as you scale up, I'm sure things have been a little bit different, but how do you determine what needs to meet, who you help, how you help, what areas you help? Is there a certain process? How do you go about that?
That is a great question that we wished we knew the answer to. I taught for 10 years social work out at the local college, Warner University, and I taught program development, community organizing, and I know what the textbook says, and Care Center has not quite followed the textbook. I don't think we've been completely haphazard, but one of our core values, if you were to look it up on our webpage, they spell out acronymically the word care. We're kind of obnoxious about the word care around here. And one of those, our third core value, is responding to unmet individual and community needs. And so the community needs part is what I believe you're asking about. Each program is so different in how it came to us. Many times it's because there was a group, maybe a church or a couple churches or pastor or community group. We started our free clinic because the local hospital asked us to do some research on free clinics. They had heard about free and charitable clinics. So we did research for them and went back and gave them a report. We gave them a kind of a prototype of what that would look like in a small town like ours. And they said, this looks good. Will you run it for us? We said, well, we're not in the healthcare business, but we are in the helping people business. We'll try it. So we struck out and for about 5 years partnered together, finally got to the point where they said, we like that. We're going to put these resources in your foundation. You can then use those to help fund this clinic as time moves forward. And so here we are in the free clinic business. Our pregnancy program started originally because two young ladies at Warner College, Warner University, they did a class project on teen pregnancy. And they said, our community has a problem. We need a teen pregnancy center. And so I said, well, come intern at Care Center and you can help start one. So they did. And we started a teen pregnancy program because those two college students, and each program is kind of like that, just being in tune to what the needs are and having a group come before us. Sometimes it's staff. We have a bike ministry that's pretty cool. We have a guy that spent 20 years around the world with his family on the mission field, was working at one of our thrift stores. Another guy that owned and operated his own bike shop. He's a master bike mechanic, volunteering at one of our other thrift stores. They did not know each other, and we put them together, and we now have this bike ministry because they said, we got to do something with this. We've got some synergy going. So they now use it for mentoring, discipleship, providing bikes to people that need it for transportation, for work and school. And it just because those two guys put their head and heart together and said, we gotta try this. So it just being in tune to what the needs are, letting people explore. Not everything, becomes successful forever. And so you just, try to learn, try to be in tune to that. Don't keep things alive that need to fade away. And that's sometimes a difficult lesson to learn.
So I want Rob to unpack the bike ministry a little more, because our listeners might hear that and go, oh, that's sweet. They have like 10 bicycles that they hand out to people from time to time. No. They have a building full of bicycles. Rob, talk through the bike ministry. And if you can, I don't even know if you can even quantify it, but how many bicycles do you think you all have?
I would imagine that over there, today there's at least 300-400 bikes in that warehouse. Some for parts. They call it the graveyard. The boneyard. Bikes come in through all different mechanisms. We have some retail stores that donate them. We have most people just cleaning out their garage, really. So these guys fix them up. They again bring in volunteers. Some kids, at-risk kids, some developmentally disabled young adults, some retirees. They put all them together, getting them, sanding and oiling and fixing pedals and spokes and handlebars, tires, and then get them ready to go out. And it's all about building community. The bikes are the end result of just building community. They do a monthly bike ride. They call it a slow roll. It's not one of these bike rides where everybody's racing to get to the next point. They tool around downtown. We'll go visit. This coming weekend is our annual community arts festival down near the lake in the center of town. They're going to do a slow roll through the arts festival this month. Then they'll come back and have breakfast. I think they all just do the slow roll so they can have pancakes and bacon and fellowship together. But it's about building community. And that's the purpose of it. It's pretty cool.
And I believe for those individuals who need it for work or need it for transportation, if they get a bike from you all, they can bring it back in any time to have it worked on, correct?
They can, and they have all put in sweat equity. They earn their bikes. They do work there. They don't have to pay for them, but they commit to doing work there over time. To do that, and then we sell bikes, high-end bikes online, or we sell them in our thrift stores. We have enough that we can provide them to people that need them as well as sell them. We're not an official bike shop. We don't want the general public coming in. The guy who's the master bike mechanic, he'll probably watch this at some point, and I don't want to tip my hand, but if we were a bike shop and having to pay shop rates to him for his skill, we'd have to up his pay a little bit from minimum wage to something a little bit higher, but he just loves doing it for the ministry aspect of it.
So I can attest, it is an unbelievable ministry. It is amazing how well it runs, and it absolutely is engaging the community. So I want to shift gears just a little bit, because the other thing that I was very struck by with the Care Center was the board. I work with a lot of organizations and end up doing a lot of board trainings. And one of the very first questions I typically get is, how do we find board members? How do we cultivate new board members? We can't get anybody to serve on this board. Rob has half of Lake Wales on his board. It is amazing how many people, but not only is it amazing the volume of people, but it's amazing the caliber of people. Talk to me a little bit about how you cultivate board members. What are you looking for in a board member? How does that come about for Lake Wales Care Center?
Well, a lot of it through the years, it's a self-perpetuating group. So they're out helping to kind of cultivate those relationships. But from day one, I have enjoyed an incredible relationship with the board. I do hear, as I work around and hear executives talk about some of the horror stories with board. I've just enjoyed a great relationship. I think transparency is a big part of that. They're just being open and honest with them. But we are blessed. We have professionals at all different occupations, business owners. We're a big agriculture area, so citrus and cattle families serve on our board. We have educators from elementary school teachers to college president have served on our board. We have attorneys. We have a county judge that used to serve on our board. He can't now that he's a judge, but so we have been blessed, as well as just regular folks from our different churches that just want to serve and give back. But so we have been blessed with that. We do look for diversity. We are, again, as a faith-based ministry and representing all the churches, we do look for a cross section of the community. We're representing the different churches, representing different occupations, ethnic groups. So we do look for that. They do rotate. They, just as most boards, they serve a certain term. Some of them call it a sentence, but it's a term, and then they have to roll off. And so we are constantly trying to look for new folks to come on, and we have been blessed with that.
I can attest, it's pretty incredible. Again, the caliber of people. You're sitting in a board meeting. It's like, oh, there's the mayor. Oh, there's the chief of police. It's pretty incredible to watch. And again, I deal with so many organizations that struggle with that. So to come across an organization where not only is board cultivation really strong, it's not just people for the sake of people. It's people who bring skill sets and really strong capacity to the board. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Well, as Ruston said, not every board is like that, and he's been impressed with your board. What are some of the tips or tricks of the trade or the magic that you have that has such a good board? You mentioned relationships, Rob. What's your relationship like with the board, and maybe what are some pitfalls that you've been able to avoid in working with your board?
I think just that, building relationships with folks in the community, building relationships, continuing the relationships with the pastors in the community, because they're going to encourage their folks to serve, looking for people with diverse thought, not always looking for people that think the same way. We've strangely enough, found people that might have been a little contrary to the Care Center idea. And you don't want to fill a board with those folks, but you do need to have a couple of those folks sitting at the table, because you need to look at things critically. And so you want some of those folks as well. But I think the two keys that I would throw out are relationships and accountability. is letting folks in the community know that we want the accountability, the transparency, and that's going to give them a level of comfort to want to come serve. They don't want to be blindsided. They don't want to know, that you've got hidden skeletons in the closet. And so we try to keep them, especially during their orientation time, and just say, here's the things that we want you to be eyes wide open to.
So have you progressed? Have you, since you started to where you are now in terms of cultivating the board, working on those relationships, just the way it functions, have you improved that process? Can you look back, years ago and say, wow, I wish we had done things differently then? Have you, as you've scaled up the care center, has the board, kind of matured, or not the people itself have matured, but have you gotten a little bit better with selecting and developing that relationship and nurturing that relationship?
I think so. I think the broadness of the board has gotten better as we've built, widened our relationships. And so, instead of just being folks from, 2 or 3 of the key churches, downtown churches, it's, folks from a broader cross section of the community. That has improved. I think another area that's improved is allowing the board itself to be more active in the process. We kind of went through this curve. Have gone through this curve where early on, when I was very young and didn't know anything. Now I'm old and don't know anything. But the board, they knew they had to lead and teach me. And then we get to this point where, all right, we're gonna, we've got this executive. He's been here a while. He's learned a couple things. We're just gonna kind of let him bring us some suggestions and ideas. And then now, trying to get back to a point where they've got more ownership of what's happening. And, over the last couple of years, purposely keeping my mouth shut more at in board committee meetings and kind of, letting them lead the way. I think that's important. One of the things, we're a small community, small rural community, and about 2/3 of our board members, we got 24 board members at any one time, about 2/3 of them currently were raised here, many of them born here. And I think that's important. This is their community, and they want a center that is going to serve their community. And that's key. Obviously, there are folks that weren't born and raised here that add a lot to it. You want, you again, a cross section, but you want to know, in my opinion, for the long-term stability, you want to know that it's folks that this is their community, and they want to make sure that whatever happens is going to support those efforts.
Well, Ruston, as Rob has dished out a lot of great insights today, what are some of your key takeaways, or some of the things that you wanted to put extra emphasis on that Rob has mentioned today?
So I think the comment he made about board relationships is critical. I don't think that can be overlooked. It's really, really important when you're cultivating board members that you're cultivating people who truly care about the mission of the organization, and honestly, who you as the executive director are going to be comfortable cultivating a relationship with. I think that's a piece a lot of people miss. The other thing I would say, and I don't do this very often, but I'm going to now. If you are someone out there who loves philanthropic avenues, always looking for someone who's making a significant impact in their community, I would really encourage you to go check out lakewellscarecenter.com. I'm around nonprofits all the time. I'm around organizations all the time, and I have not come across many that have the outcomes and the significant outcomes on community impact as the Care Center does. It's pretty incredible to see. You're going to go to their website, you're going to see the breadth of offerings they have, and you're going to go, nobody can do all this well. It's too much stuff. But I can attest, because I've been there, I've seen it, I've been in it. They do all of it very, very well, and they are making a unbelievable impact in their community. And you can see it in what Rob was saying about their community involvement. The community sees the impact they're making, and the community is 100% in their corner and is finding ways for them to be even more involved in the community. I think that speaks volumes. So if you're listening and you're somebody who just really enjoys supporting groups that do unbelievable social ministry, I would encourage you to go check out lakewellscarecenter.com. Rob, what about you? What are your takeaways from today?
I don't know. I think I've said it all. I think for me, it's again been a great ride, but great community to raise our kids in. We now have 2 grandchildren growing up here. And I think to me, that's the biggest aspect is to make it about whatever it is that we're involved in, to make it about family and community. Obviously our faith, permeates through that, but, if it's just about checking the boxes or serving on a board or supporting something, just for professional gain, that you can provide some value, but it's not going to be as heartfelt. I think making it about what's going to help our family, what's going to help our community and our neighbors. I think that's the key.
Jamy, what about you? What's your takeaway from today?
My takeaway is that Rob is in the bike business, man, a living. I know he said he didn't open up a bike shop, but hundreds and hundreds of bikes. That is so awesome, because we take that for granted. So many of us that have things in our lives, we take that for granted when just kids and people don't have a bike, especially those of us that grow up riding bikes all around. I think that's awesome. I love hearing that kind of stuff. So kudos to you and all that you're doing down there in Polk County, not just in Lake Wales, but Polk County and there in Central Florida. It's considered Central Florida, right?
Yes. So we are smack dab in the middle of the peninsula part of the state. We are right in the middle. Some people consider it the center of the state. We would like to consider it the center of the universe. You make your own call.
Awesome. Well, you can reach Rob. Check out Rob and all the work that they're doing there at lakewellscarecenter.com, lakewellscarecenter.com. We appreciate Rob's time. We appreciate all of your time for watching this or listening to this on the Success is a Choice podcast network. We definitely appreciate that. If you would, please just take a quick 2.9 seconds and hit that little like or the subscribe button, the notification button. And if you'd be so kind, also go ahead and give a 5-star rating. You don't even have to like the show, but you might like Rob and you might like the work that he's doing. So you can say that. You can say 5 stars because Rob is doing awesome work with the Lake Wales Care Center. So we definitely appreciate that. And until next time, please remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?